people listen to it, but we're gonna. So I'm super excited, and then I want to hear some wins from you all. So I need to go on and book it this week, but I am booking a catamaran for us for 4 hours. When we go to Costa Rica, it'll be our own private catamaran. So I'm super excited about that. That's going to be fun. So make sure to bring sunscreen.
And a hat.
And a hat would be good too. Yeah, we'll all have our Lachelle hats on. Actually, my hat's exactly the same one as Lachelle's, so we'll all be like,
Is it really?
yeah. She told
Oh
me
my
we
gosh,
should have, I'm like, order.
I have a visor that lays flat in my luggage.
Oh yeah.
So then you just like Velcro it around when you get there, and it folds so nicely around. It's like this long visor thing. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's
I have
perfect.
a
Like,
crushable straw hat. So I'll wear
Yeah,
that.
no, I
yeah, my
always
big
belay
hat, my
mine.
big floppy hat is crushable too, and so I hate traveling with it.
I belay
Right?
actually I'll probably wear mine because I'm flying into Atlanta and then spending the night in Atlanta and then flying to Costa Rica. I think. I don't remember. I have so many flights coming up. It's hard to
I always
remember.
get like a little thin bag to put it in that when you're boarding and you have your hands full, you pot it on, you can shove the bag in your bag because it's a
Yeah.
pain sometimes, like riding in the shuttle, you're like bonking things. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have a belay that I belay it to the back of my
Oh, yeah,
bag. So, and
that'll
that
work
works well
too.
too. So I'm super excited about that. And I know you guys have some wins. Kathy, you put one in the chat the other day, but super exciting.
Yeah, $1,500.
Yeah.
And
Wait,
it's
what was
it's
$1,500? I missed it.
I got a
I
client
saw it.
paying
I just
me
forgot.
that much to clear a building. And
To
I've
clear a building. What is that?
Yeah.
yeah,
Explain what that is, Kathy.
like, can we turn the recording off? No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Inquiring minds want to know.
well, I mean, this building, and I know it from when I lived in Traverse City. It's like the employees think it's haunted, and it was the original building in town. It's really old, and you kind of like, you could pick up the energy from like the room. You know how you can go into Auschwitz and just feel the oppressiveness, or feel the excitement when you're in a ball stadium. So I'm just clearing the energy. They think it's all ghosts, but it's just like that feeling that kind of carries.
Same
And
How do
reason.
you do that with like sage and
I do that with my wire. Yeah, it's like I do it with sage, but I'm not there. So I have a dowsing wire that, when I hold it after years of training, it'll tell me stuff. I know how to ask it, like clockwise is yes and counter is no. And I have like sheets of words, and I'm like, okay, you know, this room, and I have to have a layout, and I'll go this room. And so like when my house sold, it wasn't selling, and I did a clearing on it, and 2 weeks later it sold. I did that for a couple other people, so now it's kind of gaining word of mouth.
so
And
you don't have to be
is it
present for that?
Mm-mm.
no,
Huh.
mm-mm.
Because
Interesting.
No, the
energy
lady
is
who trained
everywhere.
me, the lady who trained me, like gets hired by realtors. Um, when houses aren't selling, you can clear the energy. And no, it helps that I've been there. Um, but just a map and a floor plan is really all I need.
Mhm. So I
Interesting.
will tell you, like, Pam, I used to be kind of a cynic, about it. And
So
then,
was I. This is so hard to talk about.
and
Oh my
then when
God.
well, I'm going to tell you two stories. When my ex-husband moved out of my house, he got so wacky. Like, I'm going to write a book. I'm not going to publish it because I don't want my son to have to like read all that about his dad, but like that I was married to 7 men, but one man. And the seventh guy was scary, and he was like totally energetically nutso. And so when he left my house, like I felt this oppression and I felt this stuff, and I almost felt like in some weird, like it sounds weird, but almost like he had like maybe some people that hadn't passed over, like some like negative energy that wasn't necessarily his, that was hanging out in my house. And I didn't want anything to do with that. So I got my friends together, and me, you know, I come from a faith background, so I had all this scripture and we walked around the house and I had all the windows open in the middle of February. It was freezing cold here because I didn't want the fire alarms going off because it smells like ganja, right? Like when you're doing the
Yeah.
sage stuff. But I got cedar. We walked around and did that whole thing. And I cannot tell you how many people walked into my house having no idea that I had done that. And they're like,
Mhm.
whole energy of this house just feels so different. Or like, it is so light in here. Like comments were being made, and I'm like, okay, this shit's real. Like it's real.
I
And
know. Like
yeah,
one time I was having an argument with my ex, and he's just berating me and yelling at me. And I'm like in my head going, I'm gonna try one of the tools. And so I just filled my heart with love. You know, it was hard because he's yelling. And I filled it with love. And then I kind of like so much where it almost hurt to contain it. And then I like intended it over, like I sent it to him. And he goes, what was I saying? I was like, you were saying we were gonna
Wow.
go to the store.
you can go your shopping. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, so nicely done. And I might share because part of this happened in Kathy's one-on-one, like you were a little bit nervous about doing that and
Asking that, yeah.
charging that. And so put this as evidence, both of you, in your
Yeah.
evidence bank that what you want, you just call it in, right? It's the same thing
Yeah.
as clearing the energy. I'm so excited for April because we're going to do a whole lot of stuff about the energy of money and
Just
the
so hard to
physical and the
charge for
physical.
something I used to judge, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of that, like it's funny, I'm doing this workshop this afternoon in the community about the art of selling. And that's one of the biggest pieces is the belief, right? Like that what you provide is valuable to other people. You know,
Yeah.
because
So I
even when
signed
we
up for
talk
that,
about,
by the way, and I don't have the book. Do I need to have the book?
no,
Okay.
I'll
But
let
can I have
Meredith
the book?
know you don't. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
responded on Facebook and I was like, yes, please, I want the book. And then I never got the book.
I know one of the drops that Meredith and I are actually going to talk about this week is when the group first came out, they were doing a really good job of like keeping up with everybody, but we have to systemize something because there's a couple of things that I've been trying to keep a vigilant eye on and yeah, and that's one of them. So yeah, it's a sales script. And so you actually have it, I think already, in a different format, but I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And then also if you're on tonight and I don't get it sent to you because I'm pretty much back to back until that's over today. I do have a section where I say if you haven't gotten the e-workbook to make sure to put your email in the chat. And then that way
Okay.
Meredith will have like a checklist of people to send that to. So yeah.
Cool.
But that's one of the big things that we're talking about because it's really like sales to me feels easy. Like for me, it's easy to sell somebody else's stuff because I
Right.
have a belief in them, right? Like I have a
Mhm.
belief in
Right.
that product or service. But when it came to selling myself and how I could help people,
So much harder.
yeah, because you got all these gremlins in your head, right? So you're gonna hear a
Yeah.
little bit of this afternoon, Pam. But like those gremlins come out. And so I want to share one thing, and I shared it in the chat with you all that I want you to start thinking about a little bit. And then I want to hear your win, Pam, is that as you go forward, if you start to hear those gremlins in your head, or you start to like doubt yourself or go into some negative spin, I want you to think about people that you admire, right? Like I have some people in my life that are phenomenal salespeople. And when I look at them, I'm like, you know, like they're just solid in this. And so if I start to kind of spin in something, I think about what is it that I really appreciate about how they handle it, how they show up in it, whatever it is. Because how many times do we hear if something annoys us, we have to hold up a mirror and look in the mirror because it's usually something that annoys us inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how many times have you heard, oh, well, if I admire this in someone else or see something in someone else I really like, well, guess what? The same thing holds true. You got to hold the mirror up because you have some of that inside you. You just got to tap into it. Right. So a lot of times we're always about the growth edge, but it's like, hey, part of the growth edge is realizing when you recognize, you know, like Kathy, your ability to read energy and do energy work, and Pam, your ability to like you have an eye for systems, man, like from start to finish, right? Like, And those are two things that I admire about both of you. And then I have to look in the mirror and say, oh, I have some of that inside myself too. Right. So there's possibilities then within myself to bring those things forward. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So when in doubt, throw it out. I don't know. I was trying to make it up, but it wasn't very good. Oh my gosh. Pam, what about you? What's a win you had?
Oh, well, so personally, I'm finally getting back into my groove a little bit since, being in Vermont and then trying to catch up on work and, sleep and all of that stuff. So been better about taking my supplements. I went to Zumba last night.
Nice.
I went to a movie over the weekend. I drank a Diet Coke for the first time, like since I've been in Vermont. I'm not kidding you. That one Diet Coke kept me up till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
I mean, it was a big Diet Coke. It was like
I
the
know.
mega, like 5
That's how
o'clock
it
in the morning.
affects
I was
me.
still awake and I was like, holy cow. Like, so that like therapeutic level of caffeine that I used to have in my body is gone.
Yeah.
So now.
Well, and how awesome, right? Like, because I don't know about you, but whenever I have situations like that happen, then the next time I go to drink the Diet Coke, I'm like, I don't know. Do I want to stay up that late? Right?
Yeah, well, and it's the second time it happened to me. The first time I realized that was a thing, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to do that again." But I forgot in between, right? Like, I was just like, "We're going to the movies. I get Diet Coke. That's what I do. I've given myself permission, right? Like, and Joni's
Right.
talking about like that minimum viable integrity, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's keeping within my integrity of my goals to have it once in a while,
Yeah.
right? For something like a movie where like a bottled water is going to cost me just as much as the soda,
Yeah.
like, and I want that soda. Like, it is fulfilling to me. It's filling something that I
Yeah.
need. But now that I know, if I do that, I mean, we went to a 6:50 movie. It's not like we went to a late movie, but still, it was 6:50, and I had all that soda, and we finished a movie at like 2 in the morning, and my husband was like, "Please don't put the next one on." Like, I need to go to bed. I'm like, I'm wide awake. I gotta watch another movie or two.
I'm gonna go
That's
back into a
awesome.
Zumba class.
Right.
Exactly. Let's kick in the VCR and put in a, yeah. So Pam,
So yeah, just
So
trying to.
I'm the same way with caffeine now because I haven't had it. It's
Yeah,
gonna help you so much on jet lag days.
that'll be nice.
yeah, that
Yeah.
will be. Okay, so I have two questions for
So,
you.
okay.
So is it the carbonation or is it the taste, the caramelized taste of the Diet Coke?
It's mostly the carbonation, but then when I try and switch to like a seltzer or whatever, it doesn't cut it because it's all
Okay.
carbonation, but not enough flavor, right? So I do drink it, and like I said, I've switched to these,
Yeah.
which is the Zevia.
Zevias.
So like that, I'll have one of those like after lunch because
Mhm.
it's that sweet
Yeah.
that I need, kind of like after lunch. So that's usually when I drink that. But it's mostly the bubbles. Like, I just like the carbonation, and so. But I haven't tried the cola version of Zevia because I'm like, it's not going to taste like Diet Coke, and it's going to be gross. Like, I already know my
So
brain is going to be like, nope, this is not Diet Coke. You don't want this.
yeah. So you've got some tools in with that. So, and then the second question is, what movie did you go see?
Oh, the Anyone But You. We saw the Valentine's
Oh yeah.
Encore.
Yeah.
So
Fun.
because my
Tried to find
husband
it
hadn't seen
online
it.
and you can't even rent it right now. So
Not yet. No,
yeah.
because it's still in the theater. Well, technically. So they did like they did outtakes at the end, like from during the making of it, which was cute. That was like the encore part. Um, but yeah, it's such a funny movie. Like, my husband was like, it was a predictable rom-com. He's like, but it was one of those that like I could watch it like again. He was
Yeah.
like, it was pretty funny.
Oh,
Because
that's
there
cool.
are a couple that I always will watch when it comes on TV, like Sweet Home Alabama. If it comes on TV, I'm
Proposal.
watching it. Yeah,
Love that
like
one.
certain
Proposal with
things I
Sandra Bullock. Yeah.
cannot go past. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Love that one. Um, so and he was like, yeah, I could watch this one again. I was like, okay, cool. But
Nice.
movies lately just have not been real exciting. There hasn't been a lot out there to excite
They've
me.
been kind of dark too, I found. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, my dear.
Anyway, so
Barbie wasn't dark.
No, that's true. It wasn't. But
I didn't
But I
see
was
Barbie.
looking the other day to go see a movie and I'm like, they're all like it's like it's October or something. Like
Yeah, lots of
or
horror
like
movies and
super dark, like, and I'm like, no, thanks. Don't need
or
that.
like 3.5
Like,
hour movies, right? Like
yeah.
we keep wanting to watch the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, the
Yeah, that's heavy. Ooh.
but it's like 3.5 hours, and we went to start it one night, and it was like 9 o'clock, and I was like, it was 8 when we started talking about it. Jeff had to go get going from work and come back, and so by the time we went to start, I was like, we're gonna have to do this like in an afternoon. We're gonna have to start at like 4 on a weekend. Like
Yeah,
I'm never
something
gonna
of the
make it
flower
there.
moon or something like
Yeah,
that.
that
That's
one.
Diet Coke. That's Diet Coke Day.
Yeah, that's Diet Coke day. I have Diet Coke before that, so I can stay awake.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, so I want to throw out there and just say to you all, like, what do you want some help with? Anything that you're doing that you like are catching some things for yourself? Any of the goals that you have started to set, 6 months ago when we met in Mexico that you're feeling either stuck in or you want to celebrate? Like, this next 40 minutes is yours.
I'll just say real quick, I feel like I'm on the cusp, and it's kind of my pattern to get here. So I'm like trying to keep pushing through. It's like Jim's surgery's tomorrow, and I think it's going to change his life. It's all day. It's an 8-hour thing.
Are you
But
going?
well, it's just at a dentist office.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an anesthesiologist and everything there. So I think I'm going to come home and
Yeah.
go back. Yeah. So
How long is
Are
it
you
supposed to take?
nervous? Oh, I'm
8
sorry.
hours.
Yeah.
Oh, 8 hours? Oh, I missed that. Whew.
And Kathy, are you nervous that, like, are you seeing any signs that he's not going to show?
No.
Good.
I'm nervous about how to take care of him afterwards, because he's not gonna be able to eat for days and
Have you had that discussion with him?
he's last thing because his friend is calling me like, can I see him? And he's like, I'm not gonna be able to talk. You know, he's just so logical. It's like, I don't know, friends just kind of want to see you and be there and leave.
Yeah.
I
But
mean, sometimes there's something about just like being in the same room with somebody, right? Even if you're watching TV or a movie or
yeah,
something, just having that other person there, even if you're not really talking.
I mean, I value it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think the average person value it, but Jim's like, I don't see the point, you know?
And then do you have a blender handy
Oh yeah, I've
or a
got
juicer? Yeah.
whatever the bullet thing is. But yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But so I guess I'm just I don't want to spend too much time on it because you and I talk later.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
both
I
of us
just I
are on
just
today.
wanna okay. I just wanna make sure I keep pushing because I think my tendency is to just give up at this point when it's so close. And
Are you talking about the business?
everything.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like it's a metaphor for Jim. It's like
Yeah.
the book, the what I hope is the final proof, it's the third proof, is coming today. It's gone through the whole process again, and yeah. So that's what I mean. Like everything
Okay.
is on the cusp.
So here's what I want you to think about, right? Like, if you would change that vernacular that you always get on the cusp, because here's the deal, you've passed the cusp, Kathy, because in
Yeah.
the past you were like, I'm not going to publish the book. That, like, and no judgment here, but like you
And I
stopped.
still might not, but I'm gonna finish the damn thing.
Right. But the point being is like you stopped yourself and then you kept forging, right? So the evidence in your evidence bank is that you didn't stop on the cusp, right? Like you you even like maybe you took a little rest or something, I don't know, but like you're still going towards the summit. Like you're still moving right now.
Uh,
You're
Yeah,
still
so like
taking
the
steps
the
forward.
metaphor that just popped in when you did that is you had to climb a mountain, I had to kind of go down to keep going back up.
Yep.
Yeah, it's never a straight climb.
That's right.
Damn
That's right.
it. I want
know, right?
stairs to Mount Everest, okay?
Sometimes it's like this, right? Sometimes I think about skiing, like one of the things I love about my mountain is that you start here and it might be a steep spot, but then it levels out a little bit, right? Because your thighs are going, okay, you're way out of shape, get your ass in gear next year. Then you're like steep again, and then it flattens out a little bit for you to take a breath, right? And then I think about, so there's a run here, Pam and Kathy, I think you probably know it. It's called Little Blue. It's the longest one that's here. It's like, I don't know, like a mile and a half or so. I don't know. It's long. And it's exactly like that. Like it's almost like a black in some areas because it's pretty steep in some areas, but it always like settles in and then it goes down and it settles in and then it goes down and it settles in. And that's where in this case you're doing the opposite, right? Like you're hiking, not skiing, but like and it plateaus a little bit, and not a plateau in a bad way, but it's like now you're observing and catching your breath about, oh, I want to get a different introduction. Oh, I want to change this chapter, right? So the evidence is that you're not on the cusp. You've passed the cusp. You're at the next summit.
Yeah. It's just that I can feel the fears
Yeah,
like
totally.
brewing that I would know. It's like, Jim's gonna like get his teeth. He's gonna be good looking again. He's gonna leave me. Or like,
Aw.
Yeah.
because he doesn't need
I
me
really
anymore.
believe that to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what gives you that impression?
Um, history, but I'm like all emotional right now
Mhm. Yeah, because it's your heart.
because he's a very big one of these,
Mhm.
you know, and that's like I said, I know it's my energy drawing in that behavior, and I know that if I, push through that fear, either he'll gravitate away or he'll change.
Mhm.
It's not in my control, and I know all that stuff, but it's the same thing with like I'll finish the book, but I don't know if I want to publish it because people won't like it. It's that fear that I've been letting myself give up on. It's still there.
And what would you name the fear? Like what is the true fear? Is it that people will reject you? Because it's a core wound and we all have them.
Yeah, I guess it's rejection. I think it might more be abandonment,
Mhm.
but same flavor.
Yeah. And so when people
Either way, I'm alone. So let's just
yeah.
say the fear of being alone.
Yeah, and there's different levels of this. So Pam, I want you to think about that too. Like when you have something going on and something stops you, there's this first level of I'm going to be abandoned. And somewhere in your past, my best friend always talks about, yeah, she was like the sixth of six kids, and so she was lucky to have a name, let alone a baby book. And like she was left at a department store one time because she hid in between the little, like they were circular racks, and she hid in between the rack, and her mom didn't even realize that she was missing, right? Like just left her at the store and came back. And she's unwound that's where it first started for her, right? Like this fear that she was going to be alone and scared, and all those feelings that come up with that. And so when you think about, we all have a core wound, and there's layers to it. So if you feel abandoned or that people are going to leave you,
That
and
might be
you have
rejection.
evidence, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm trying to pinpoint it. It's just, it might be rejection. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times when we are afraid of what other people will think, whether it's a client that we're calling back to talk about a different rate change, or if it's a love interest or your book, or whatever it is, that rejection that takes place, there's something that has occurred in your life where you felt a deep like heart space around something with that. And
And
so
I
part,
suspect it was Jim back in
yeah,
college
yeah, right, because he left you back then.
because he's this.
But could this
Like
part of it be that he's not confident in himself? So he doesn't want to,
it could
maybe
be
he's
partly
projecting a little
that.
bit of that.
It could be partly that, but it also, I think, I call it a line item rejection, line item veto. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that part of you, but I'm gonna reject that part of you. To me, I feel there's a lot of stuff he doesn't like. Cause I don't want to. I mean, if he can hear me, his ego's gonna go boom. But um, like he literally, I've been in the room where a woman literally threw herself at him, and he's always had hot girls like chasing him, and so he would, in college, he's gonna go for the hot girl, and that's the rejection. Like, I'll be your best friend, uh, but you're not good enough to date.
And Kathy, here's a question that I always ask, like, because we're talking about the mirror earlier. Where in your life, in relationships or work, whether it be the book, whether it be other people in your life, do you feel like you have a list of pros and cons for those people? And you're like, I'll like this about you, but I'm not going to like this about you. And you don't have to answer, but that would be a question
Yeah, I don't really
I would
have an
ask.
answer right now, but
Yeah. And again, looking at that though through the lens of curiosity and not beating yourself up if that's the case, because whatever, like the vibrational energy matches. So like if you're feeling that in him, and you even said that earlier, like then what is it about me? Like what am I doing to vibrate and attract that kind of energy? So then you just have to start looking and bend that lens of observation with curiosity to say, oh, where's that showing up in my life? Like, what am I doing? And how can I release that and let go of that? And a lot of it too might be about yourself. Like, I know when I sat in that room with Peter Crone and he said, well, deep down, you think that there's something wrong with you. I was like,
well, that's what the Dalai Lama said about everyone in the Western culture when he first got here.
yeah, right. It's prevalent.
I mean, it is. He's like, they're like, what do you think of the West? And he's like, well, everyone here doesn't think they're good enough.
Yeah.
Do
And
you
what do
Like,
you
think, Kathy,
let go
maybe
of that?
there's also, oh, sorry, a little bit of like needing to feel needed? Like I feel that a little bit as my kids get older and they're being more self-sufficient and like they don't need me the same way that they did. It feels
I don't
different.
know. I don't know. I have been like, my feet have been on their backs for years. I'm like so ready to not be
You're
needed.
right.
But
Yeah.
that's your children. But maybe you still feel a little bit of that with Jim, that you're afraid he won't need you anymore once his teeth are fixed and he has confidence back.
Well, I'm afraid of that, but I don't want to be needed, because I'm like, um,
You just want to be wanted.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to what about yourself makes you feel like or believe that you're not one hot, sexy mama?
You should see the women that chase him.
I
I mean, they're like
That
little
chase him currently
Longoria
or chased him in college?
in college, but like literally, she ran across the dance floor and vaulted, and he had no choice but to catch her. When he walked in the room, he'd been in the room like 5 minutes.
and how
Um,
many years ago was that?
that was 20 years ago, but he's still like, yeah, yeah, I don't know.
Well, and part of why I say that, Kathy, is like he's vibrating at a different energy right now, right? Because he's not feeling confident and all those things. And yes, as he starts to build that confidence, but I want to go back to we can't expect something we're not willing to give ourselves. So, like, what about yourself doesn't make you feel like you're a hot, sexy mama?
Well, I'll put it in story form. I'll
Okay.
walk into wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I'll see myself in the mirror, and I got pink curlers, I got a Vite plate, my shirt is Winnie Poohing up the belly, and I'm like, sexy. There's that image.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. So, how can you change that image of yourself? That's the big piece.
Ah,
like, what makes you feel, like, I'm not going to lie to you. I was in a downward spiral a few weeks ago, and I'm like, what is happening? Because the collective energy right now is dense. It is heavy out there, right? Like, I think we're having some almost like PTSD after COVID and some of this stuff, and like just some heavy shit happening to people around me. Um, and I found myself doing that. Honestly, that's part of why I kept my hair off. Because I was like, I need something to lighten myself up. I need something to like feel like myself again. And so, like, even a change up of something. But that's where I'm like, how can you shift that mental picture of yourself?
Well, I'm working at it. I'm
Yeah.
running. My knee hurts, so I'm going to all sorts of different things. I went to get myofascial release,
Yeah.
and it like changed my posture, which is
Mhm.
a big part of, you feel like this, you
Yeah.
know. Um, I'm I went to a massage to try to massage out the IT band.
So can you like, do you have a picture of yourself when sometime that you feel like, I mean, I don't know, Pam, you probably have one of these too. I know I do, where like I look at that photo and I'm like, now it
And
doesn't matter
I
that
don't
I was
have one since I
43,
was like 20.
but that
this
same
was
girl is
me when
there.
I got divorced.
Yeah. Print that sucker out and put it on your bathroom mirror so that that's what
Yeah.
you see when you go to the bathroom. Not the Jeff Dunham. The reason I was laughing so hard is I was thinking about the little NASCAR. He's the ventriloquist. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's got the little NASCAR guy with the buck teeth and stuff. And as you were talking, I'm like, oh, that would be like his wife. That example that you gave. Right? Like I was imagining this little puppet. That is not you. Are you kidding me? Like I've been around you. Like men flock to you and you just don't even see it.
I'm like, they don't.
Well, but that's your messaging, right? So can you print off that picture and put it on your mirror and look at that and not have oh yeah, that's not me. Like, oh yeah, that's me. Because you're the same person.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel the same, Kathy, a lot of
Do you?
times. And Debbie gave me the same advice. I told her I was going to do it, and I totally haven't. I was going to put it on the back of my door here because then nobody would see it but me. Because nobody else is ever in my office with the door closed. So, so that I could look at. I was going to get like a really bad picture of myself and a really good picture of myself. So I could be like, do you want this or do you want this? Because yeah, I mean, I'm the heaviest that I've been my whole life, and it is not good for the like psyche, right? Like you just
Yeah.
feel like garbage.
Well,
Well,
And
and it's the fat is like the energy of overweight is fear. So I'm protecting myself from something.
yeah. Oh, protecting yourself from something. And you're afraid that when Jim gets his teeth back, that he's not going to be attracted to you. So why not do everything possible to make that true? Does that
I'm
resonate?
wearing my bite plate and my curlers.
I think there's something to that, right? And you know how to do the work to unwind. So, and we can talk more about it too in our session, but I think that's say that statement again, because you're right. I think there is something about weight and fear and make
Yeah,
that
the energy of the fat of the overweight is fear. It's protection of some sort. And like I gained it when I was single. And
yeah.
when
So,
I was young and attractive, I got raped. So,
yeah,
then there's a fear.
absolutely. And that fear is real. I understand that only too well. So when you think about all three of us, Like, what are we afraid of? I mean, you just named part of it, Kathy, right?
Assault. Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also maybe afraid that even if I'm pretty, he'll still reject me,
Mhm.
and that's a rejection of me. That's not line item. That's full on.
So where do you reject yourself?
Wow, I think like my dynamic's probably probably weird, but also probably normal. It's like I feel good about me, but I seem to draw on people that don't, like me. And I had to kind of put on this pretend um not like myself so that Julie wouldn't be me, my sister.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I get this because I have two sisters. One we're like super close, and one she just hates me.
Yeah. Because it's easier. It's kind of like the definition that I threw on Facebook yesterday that Simon Sinek said about love, that like something to the effect of love is where you put yourself out there to someone that could destroy you and trust that they won't. Right.
Yeah, like
And
Ernest
that's what,
Hemingway said, you know how to know if you should trust someone? Trust him.
yeah. Yeah. But I go back to Kathy, and I would just offer up that typically if we're projecting something that around, in this case, that he may not think the same way about you once he starts to feel more confident about himself, we can say that we feel good about ourselves, and we do feel good about ourselves, but there's something subconsciously that's still in there around not liking who you are.
And I'm trying to figure it out. And that, my habit, I'm a runner. Like I'm going to run away before I
Mhm.
find out.
But here's the deal, you haven't been running
No,
because you've redone the book, you've redone, like, that's the evidence, right? Like if you
I've rented out Sandpoint. Like I'm stuck here. I can't even run to my other house.
exactly. Yeah. And there might be some like mechanisms that subconsciously you did that, not just thinking, oh, it could be some money, but the fact is, if it's rented, I mean, you have places to stay, but the point being is that like your subconscious is even putting things in play to say that that won't happen.
Why aren't we picking on Pam?
Just thoughts.
Okay, so if you want to know what I'm thinking,
Uh-huh. About me?
no, about what Debbie asked, like, what are we afraid of, or what are we holding on to? And I think when I think about like, okay, I've gained all this weight. How did I gain this weight? I gained this weight having fun, right? Drinking, hanging out with my friends, sleeping in, eating whatever I wanted, trying new stuff, going vacationing, right? Like that's how I gained this weight, right? No discipline whatsoever. And I feel like maybe there's something about me that doesn't want to be that person who I can't because I have to go to the gym. I can't because I don't drink anymore. I can't because I can't eat that food. I can't, like then I'm not going to have any fun, or I'm going to have fear of missing out on the fun because I'm trying to be healthy and those that I'm around don't have the same intentions, right? They're free to do whatever they want because they're maybe naturally skinny and they don't have to worry about it, right? Or like they have found a way to have both and I just haven't. So I feel like maybe there's something to that if I go too far in that direction, I'm going to be a different person. And the people that I hang out with and I vacation with and want to do stuff with aren't necessarily going down that same path. And so I'm going to be the one that's left out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know what
And
I'd say
so
to
I
you.
continue to eat. Okay, so what do you say to me? Tell me.
That
Yeah.
just that thing I said is like, it's like the last sentence in my book. Sometimes the people change, like you start gravitating towards other people, and
Mhm.
sometimes the people change and they're like, oh my God, I've been wanting to do this too. Thank you. You know,
Yeah, like
Yeah, and
I just experienced that, Pam, because like the group that I meet with for the mastermind, um, like one of them loves to party and I drank some champagne and then but I asked them beforehand. I'm like, because every time we go, my stomach just gets torn up because I can't control what they put in my food
Mhm.
when I order out. And so I'm like, hey, what if we bought like some food and I'll make salads for everybody, and we'll buy some healthy snacks and then Heather can make our Paris eggs and everybody was like, yeah, let's do it, right? But all it took was me asking because a lot of times there might be people feeling the same way,
Mhm.
but just from a courage perspective, they're feeling the same way that if they spoke up, then all of a sudden, because we each have this like innate thing to belong, right? And then when we don't belong,
survival.
yeah. Yeah, because it goes back to caveman days. If you were on your own, like good luck, right? Like,
Don't kick me out of the tribe.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. And so, which is why that stupid Survivor, right? Like people love to watch it, and I'm like, why? It just like feeds that, oh, I'm gonna be knocked off the tribe, right? But the point being is I think there's something there, but then you start to wade in a little bit and maybe like ask some questions about it or do that, or you know, sometimes, and I get it, and it's funny how drinking is so acceptable and drinking, people push drinking.
Mhm.
Like I have said, I can't tell you how many times, and now, like, I don't like to maneuver this way, but now I'll be like, it just doesn't taste good to me after COVID, which is a true statement. But when I say, no, thank you, I don't want anything to drink, are you sure? Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Come on, this wine's so good. Or like, just have one glass of champagne. Like, it's a push.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, back the fuck
And
off,
so
right?
many social events are built around it, right? Like
Yeah.
you go to any kind of party, any kind of social event, and it's all about like what kind of cocktails do they have, and
Yeah.
you
Now,
know,
there's some tricks to that, but it still doesn't like it doesn't necessarily feed the button of am I still going to belong? But there's so many good mocktails these days too, right? And have a glass of champagne if you want to. Like I've done that before where I'll have like a glass of champagne and I'll drink 3 or 4 sips and then I switch to a mocktail, right? And nobody knows the difference except me. Now, people
but
do
then
the
I'm thinking like mocktail, that's just a whole bunch of like empty calorie juices, right? Like I don't want that either. I'd
well,
rather have the
but
champagne.
you're having empty stuff that keeps you awake at night and screws with your metabolism, like, but to that point, some of the mocktails that I have, I just take like soda water and a lemon or lime, right?
Yeah.
Or have them put a couple cherries in it, with some cherry juice or, like, but there are ways to go about that. But to your point, you won't do that until you start to recognize that, in all honesty, there will be some people that maybe you don't hang out with as much anymore.
Yeah.
Sometimes the people change.
Yeah, sometimes they'll change and sometimes they won't. Doesn't mean that you have to sever relationships. And so that is scary sometimes, right?
Mhm.
Like, and it's scary too when it's
Right. Because you could tell me, like, oh, you'll find someone if he leaves you. And I'm like, yeah, I know that in theory, but it's kind of hard to live through.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
But
I feel like I
yeah,
don't want to become that person that I don't enjoy being around, right? Like I don't want to be that person that is so focused on myself that I can't be any fun, right? Like that's the message in my head
yeah.
so
that
yeah,
like
there's the
I don't want to
belief that
become
if
that.
I
Mhm.
focus on myself, I can't be fun. There's your
Yeah.
Right.
belief.
So
Flip
Right.
what
that
if,
one.
Because all the things that are fun are now no longer acceptable if you're really
Mhm.
focusing on your own health and wellness, right? Like eating late at night, eating junk food when you're hungover, or having drinks at a party, or going on vacation and just living it up, and like all of those things. Like when you have that friend that all of a sudden decides they're going to lose a bunch of weight and they do, and you're so happy for them, but literally that's all they can talk about
yeah. Yeah, you
is
don't want to
their
be that
diet,
person.
their exercise, their whatever. Like that, it becomes their whole identity. that's the part that I don't want, right?
Yeah.
Like I need to find a happy medium where I can focus on myself and
Absolutely.
still be fun. And I
Absolutely.
think I've never been the sober one at like, and not never. I mean, I've been designated driver and stuff, but you know, like when you're hanging out or you're on vacation with a whole bunch of drunk people, it's not that fun to be the sober one.
Yeah.
Like, right? They're
Because then you
laughing at
realize how
stupid
obnoxious
stuff
they
and
are.
but like then you realize how obnoxious you were, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, like,
Yeah.
that's not fun either.
So the belief is that if you get healthy, you're not going to be any fun.
Right. Healthy people
So
aren't fun. That's your belief. Yeah.
yeah. So Pam, who do you know that is healthy? And healthy doesn't necessarily always mean that you're 40 pounds less, right? Like, because sometimes physiologically our bodies do change. And once you love yourself, then that weight starts to come off, right? So like, because subconsciously you have a different belief. But when you think about who in your life or who do you know that you would consider healthy?
There's not a lot of them around me at the moment. My hairdresser's
Well,
one.
even
I'm
in
a hairdresser for
fiction,
years. She's a friend.
Yeah.
even in fiction or in public life.
But like, my hairdresser is a good example, right? So we've been friends for years and years. She recently dropped a ton of weight, stopped drinking, exercises every day, like way more than I have time for. But she's a hairdresser, right? So she can set her own schedule and you know, and it works for her. And then did like a little mommy makeover, right? She got like a little boob job to fill back in, you know, and did a tummy tuck because she had twins that she had given away when she was a teenager for adoption, and they want nothing to do with her. And that scar was just a reminder, and so she got rid of the scar. And like, but she also just is getting a divorce, right? Like, it's not like all of that made her life better.
Yeah.
It
So
didn't.
what
But
about
it
her?
has become a lot about her personality, right? Now,
Yeah.
like a lot of the things that she talks about is like, I can't eat that. You know, I have to do this workout. I have to, you know, like, I don't go on these types of vacations anymore. Now I go on vacation and we do all this stuff, right? Vacation is about all this activity, right? There's no more like just hanging out and relaxing,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I'm like, I don't want that life either. I want to be thin and fit and healthy is really the biggest goal, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want that life either.
So can you find somebody like, here's what I want you to do, and we'll talk more about this when you and I meet today too. It's funny because we're like preempting our coaching sessions today. But
It's okay,
like,
a little primer.
yeah, I want you to like start noticing other people around you that are healthy, that are fun. Because here's the deal. One of the things that I learned going through this responsible living course, and it's the 12 guiding principles, is that people that are truly healthy and have a healthy mental belief system around health don't talk about it a whole lot. They just do it. That's something I've been noticing because I'm like, you know what? If I want to be healthy, I want to notice and study other people that are healthy because I want to emulate those habits, but I want to study people that are healthy and fun. Now, I'm still not going to get in the cold plunge at the Toasty Mobile Saunas. I've been there 4 times and never done that, right? Like other people can experience that because then you start to be able to choose. But right now, the people that you see
You're
are,
muted.
huh?
I was going to say the cold plunge is pretty like invigorating.
Totally. Just like some people say they're just garter snakes. Okay.
Yeah.
Right? But, okay. I'm like, that's fine that you want to believe that. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's where I think thinking about what you're saying too is to help you shift that belief. All of your evidence right now points to all of the people that you hang out with, you don't see as healthy.
Yeah.
Then people that you see as healthy are the ones that have gone way over on the law of polarity and have focused so heavily on that. Now, it doesn't mean sometimes when you're shifting a behavior, there is a focus until it becomes more natural. Like if you think
Right.
about when you had
Think about a
children,
new mom and how annoying they are about their babies.
right?
And
Or I was even going to say, like, I'm watching my little almost 3-year-old grandson, And like this thought of him having to brush his teeth, right? Like teaching him to brush his teeth in the morning and at night before he goes to bed. Now, I have no idea if that's what they're really teaching him, but if you think about, like, as a kid, you taught them that habit. And now what do you do when you get up in the morning? And you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And so many times, like projecting here, but so many times I meet women and men that want to be healthy, and they want it to be something that's part of their lifestyle, not something that they have to be obsessed with.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
I think like I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
no, please.
Well, it's like when you hold the belief, you're going to draw in the evidence.
Yep.
And so if you could work on that I am fun and healthy,
Mhm.
you won't see that in your world. You'll see fun and healthy
Yep.
combined.
And I have a perfect example of that. So my friend Wendy, who's going to be a program coach, you know Wendy, I
Mhm.
think you've seen her or met her.
I've seen her, but I've never actually met her
Yeah.
or talked to her.
Super fun. She's from Wisconsin, so she is a big drinker, right? Like people in the north drink heavy because I think it's just too cold outside, right? And that's what
Yeah,
they do,
exactly. What else are you gonna do?
right?
You
So,
make your own fun.
and that's fine. And if it works for her, that's great, right? No judgment. But it's like she had this belief that she couldn't be a multimillionaire and be fun,
Mhm.
that she would have to lose this ability to connect with people. Like she connected with the bellman at the Hotel de Crillon in Paris. Like she still keeps in touch with him on Facebook. We contact him every time we're together, although we didn't this time. But like the point being is she connects with people on all levels. And she had this belief that she couldn't have a super successful business and still be fun.
Mhm.
And so part of that is yes, we have to change the belief, because then it's just like when you buy a white Subaru and all of a sudden you never saw Subarus and now you see them all the time. That's what Kathy's talking about, right? Like once
Mhm.
that belief shifts, but if you know that that belief is something you want to shift, you will start to see people now that are healthy, and that our brain can't make an excuse of, oh, they're a movie star, so yeah, that's all they do is like work out and have personal chefs and all the things I don't have, right?
Right.
Look for the commonalities and start identifying and seeing people in your life, like even in your Zumba class, right? That it's not about, because what I'm hearing you say is you can be healthy and fun. You don't want it to be the only focus in your life and all you talk about, because
And
that's
right now it just feels like a chore, right? Like every time I have to think about like food planning or working out, like I haven't found, other than Zumba, like I haven't found the thing that I just like where I'm just intrinsically motivated because it's
yeah.
fun or because I enjoy it or because it's part of my routine. Or I mean, we've already talked about how I'm not very good at routines
Yeah.
in general, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I did
I would
notice before I went to Vermont when I was getting up and getting on the treadmill
Mhm.
and then doing my morning pages, it filled something. It filled a need for me so that when I was done work, I already felt like I accomplished something other than work that day. And I
Yeah.
didn't feel like such a sloth
Mhm.
if I actually sat on the couch and, played on my phone for a little bit or whatever. But I also felt like I had a little bit more energy throughout the day. I didn't feel the need to like sit on the couch all night, right? Like feel
Yeah.
like I deserved that time to decompress because I had already accomplished stuff and I didn't feel that same way. And so I'm
Yeah.
trying to get back to that feeling because that was a really good feeling.
So are you doing that morning routine?
I'm working on getting back into that. Yeah, I haven't started again, but I'm working first on going to bed earlier so that I can get up
Yeah.
earlier.
Because I hear what you're saying, Pam. When I got back from the East Coast, one of the things that I realized over the course of the last week and a half is that part of why I haven't been feeling inspired is because I haven't been studying. And learning for me is such a core piece of what inspires me. And I thought I used to get up at 5 a.m. and set my alarm for 7 and do nothing but study for my master's and then go get in the shower and go to work. So I gave myself Sunday to be a rest day and just kind of slowly get into my day. And I've been getting up at 5 a.m. Now, this morning, the 5 a.m. was to write my sales script, not to read, but, like for the thing this afternoon. But
Mhm.
the point being is that when I do that, my vibration is already raised. And now I'm even like, oh, where can I fit working out in? Right? Like, oh, I have a personal trainer that really wants some coaching. Where can like we figure out something, and we're talking Friday where I can go because I'm better when I have somebody, I go weekly. So like these things then start appearing that are up leveling other areas of my life because I'm filling that energy bucket,
Mhm.
that inspiration bucket. And so what it sounds like to me is that morning routine is something that there's a difference. And I want to just throw this out there, and then we've got like 60 seconds, but like this difference between devotion and discipline.
Mhm.
We have a lot of negative connotation around discipline, and it feels like a chore. Where if you can think about devotion, like to me, that just feels even.
I see, to me,
Delicious.
that feels like the people who it becomes their whole identity
Right,
when you
right.
use the word
The
devotion.
obsessive.
I feel the exact opposite about those two words. Like discipline feels like, okay, you're just committed to it. But devotion means that's who that is like your whole being. Like,
So switch those words around for you, right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I would suggest like after Zumba, you're in that feeling, just kind of like, click favorite, kind of soak it up, notice what it feels
Mhm.
like. Even if you
Mhm.
can try to do some energy work, kind of send it to yourself in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because even like this morning, I wanted to sleep in because I didn't sleep very well last night at all. And I had a lot of things on my brain because I stayed up, did work a little bit too late. And that never helps because then my brain starts to swirl. And so then but I hadn't noticed that, right?
Mhm.
Until recently because I've been wanting to get back up and start reading. And so then it starts to raise all of these different things. So game changer,
Yeah.
do your like get up tomorrow morning and do your pages, your artist way.
And like
Your
your
creativity.
belief that uh healthy people aren't fun. I found mine. I just wanted to share it. Attractive people aren't safe.
Mm.
So that's the one
Okay.
I'm going to try to de-energize.
We're totally going to work on that. Okay. Love you guys. I gotta go. I will see
Yeah.
you shortly. Both of you.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.